Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year from Kiss.
Feliz Navidad, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas from Kiss.
Ho, ho, ho! I'm wishing everybody a really Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year.
Someone stole Santa? That does not rock!
What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another episode of 25 Days of KISSmas, where every day leading up to KISSmas, I will be reviewing and discussing every Kiss studio album plus more. For the 24th episode, I will be reviewing the Monster album from 2012. Work on a follow-up to Sonic Boom was mentioned only a year after the album's release, which only proved the reinvigoration in the band with its current lineup in a studio setting. Following the same mantra as before with no ballads or outside writers, one may think that they would go about creating another typical Kiss-sounding album. Instead, they upped the ante, and the end result was an album that artistically outdid what Sonic Boom accomplished, and dare I say it, it's one of their greatest. So let's dig into the album. Side 1, Track 1, Hell or Hallelujah. This track, written by Paul, was the lead-off single from the album, and one of the small handful of tracks to represent the album in the live setting. Despite not making an impact on radio, it did manage to chart number 1 on the iTunes Top Rock Song chart and the Top 40 of the Billboard Mainstream Rock chart. This song perfectly sets the tone for the album with its upbeat hook and a solid riff that makes it an essential Kiss anthem. Track 2, Wall of Sound. Tommy provided the core riff of the song, Paul provided the melody and lyric, and Gene fine-tuned the end result. The guitar lick in the verses is kind of reminiscent of the lick on the Beatles song Helter Skelter, and the song's title was initially a working one, but it ultimately stuck. It's safe to say that the song may have some slight biblical ties with it, with the Wall of Sound being influenced by the Walls of Jericho, and this was another song to have a brief airing in the live set. Track 3, Freak. This track by Paul and Tommy is one of the album's highlights, as it is a song about individualism and self-empowerment. According to Gene, Paul was going to sing this track alongside pop star Lady Gaga, who is also a massive Kiss fan, and that is a collab that I would have been intrigued to hear. There's also a piano part on this track that's played by Brian Whelan, which, if you think back to the debut and the piano part in Nothing to Lose, given this is most likely Kiss's final album, it kind of brings everything full circle in a way in that respect. Track 4, Back to the Stone Age. This marks the rare occasion where the entire band is credited in writing a track. It goes without saying that this track was particularly inspired by the MC5. Listen to this and kick out the jams and you'll see what I mean. This song can be seen as a calling card for the band returning back to their roots, or in this case, the Stone Age. Track 5, Shout Mercy. According to Paul, this track that he and Tommy co-wrote has a certain element that reminded him of the bands that he idolized and saw during his youth. And it definitely conveys that vibe with its relentlessness and urgency, which combated Hell or Hallelujah for being considered to be the album's opening track. Arrangement-wise, there is that flair of the past with the ooh-ooh background vocals. Track 6, Long Way Down. Another Paul and Tommy track that has Paul going in a slightly opposite direction from his usual upbeat territory. This song tells about those who reach the top and don't appreciate the fruits of the labor, and how it's a, just like the song title states, long way down from the top. This was also the second radio single released from the album, which didn't do much, and it did receive a live airing a handful of times. Now we're going to flip the album over to Side 2, Track 7, Eat Your Heart Out. This track by Gene has him doing what he often does, crafting a new song from an older composition. This one germinated from a song that was actually demoed not too long before work commenced on Sonic Boom called Are You Ready? The intro to this song has a slight R&B tinge with the a cappella chorus vocals and plenty of cowbell to prescribe the fevers. Track 8, The Devil Is Me. This is a collaborative effort between Gene, Paul, and Tommy, but this song perfectly suits Gene and the demon persona. Lyrically, it kind of repeats the sentiment shared in a song like Unholy, or Evil Lies in All of Us, to the extent where the devil is indeed the protagonist. Track 9, Out of This World. Tommy receives a sole writing credit on this track, which is also his lead vocal spotlight on the album. He plays it safe and sticks to the sort of spacey theme to the song's lyrics, which is about partying it up with a girl and taking her, you guessed it, out of this world. A bit of the riff in the verses kind of reminds me of Mountain's Mississippi Queen, and this track, along with Hell or Hallelujah, received frequent live airings, often played as a medley along with Shock Me, so you have two iconic Spaceman songs played as one. Track 10, All for the Love of Rock and Roll. Paul wrote this track with Eric in mind to sing on the album. It's a more mid-paced tune that can be seen as a hark back to some of the band's older material. Hell, I got vibes of Mainline from Hotter Than Hell with this track. Eric has gone on record saying that this track was more in his wheelhouse to sing compared to All for the Glory on Sonic Boom, which, speaking of which, the songs that Eric sings on these recent two albums do share similar sentiments, but I tend to prefer this one since it provides a bit of contrast. Track 11, Take Me Down Below. This track by Paul, Gene, and Tommy provides a bit of tongue-in-cheek humor, full of innuendos one can easily find in other tracks such as Lick It Up and Love Gun. It does also feature one of the classic Kiss trademarks of the trade-off vocals between Gene and Paul in the verses. Track 12, Last Chance. The album's closing track is another one written by Gene, Paul, and Tommy, and it still maintains the power and drive that is consistent throughout this record about going for what it is that you believe in, which is indeed another one of Kiss's classic tropes, and it's also a rather fitting title to wrap up what is most likely Kiss's final studio album. So technically, Last Chance wraps up the album, but on iTunes there was a bonus track in the form of Right Here, Right Now. This simple rocker by Paul and Tommy turned out to be Eric's favorite song from the album, and it's about how the only time that matters is now. I will say that the song has a certain charm to it that is reminiscent of some of the more cinematic material on Destroyer, particularly with the tubular bells in the middle section. As for where this album stands in my Kiss catalog ranking, I would put Monster at the number 10 spot. This album picks up where Sonic Boom left off at, which was more or less a nod to the band's past, and takes it to a whole other level by crafting just a generally good rock album with solid tracks that work well within the Kiss mold and serve as a nod to their foundation and influences. While the album is semi-lengthy at 12 standard tracks total, each song does have a place on the album to where it doesn't feel like it's chocked with filler. This is more than likely Kiss's final studio album, and if so, they capped off a recording legacy with ultimately one of the greatest albums that is in good company with the 70s stuff of their heyday. So one may think that the Kiss recording legacy ends there, but there are a few nuggets that came after that are necessary to discuss. The year 2015 proved to be one that had the band delving into all types of crossovers and collaborations. In the early part of the year, Kiss had joined forces with Japanese pop group Memorial Clover Z. The collaboration was due to an executive from McGee Entertainment seeing how they went about packaging their releases and their stage shows. Each group had put out respective singles that each one appears on, Kiss's being Samurai Sun. This track was written by Paul and co-producer Greg Collins, with Paul providing the English lyrics. The backing track that appears on this track is the same as the one that appears on the Memorial Clover Z track, and I apologize if I mispronounce the title, Yume no Ukyo ni Saite Mina, with Kiss providing background vocals and Memorial Clover Z doing the same on Samurai Sun. The Japanese nature of the song still comes across strong with the various references of Japanese cities and the band themselves singing brief Japanese phrases. Overall, given the parallels between both Kiss and Memorial Clover Z, the collab works well, but only to a Japanese-based audience who can really appreciate both styles and cultures. Later that same year, Kiss contributed some voice acting work to the direct-to-DVD animated crossover film Scooby-Doo and Kiss: Rock and Roll Mystery. While the soundtrack of the film consists of older material, there was one oddity of a new track contributed, which was Don't Touch My Ascot. In the film, when the Mystery Gang is on their way to Kiss World to see the band, Fred kills the excitement by putting on a CD by his favorite group, the Ascot 5. As a little Easter egg, it is actually Kiss singing on this track in the vein of 50s era doo-wop. Each member gets a chance to sing lead on a verse, and as uncanny as the track is in the context of Kiss, it does showcase how tight their harmonies are and how well their vocals blend together. But yet I am also scratching my head in confusion if this turns out to be the last ever recorded Kiss track. There you guys go. That is the 24th episode of the 25 Days of KISSmas series. We have gone through 20 studio albums, 4 solo albums and a handful of other tracks, and yet there is one more episode left of this series. And I'll just say that the final episode that is dropping tomorrow is going to be a long overdue update that many viewers and fans of the channel have asked for, and enough time has passed for me to do so. So tune in tomorrow to find out what that will be. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.
Treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow.